Thank you for joining us live from MacArthur High School in Wantagh, New York. It's the game of the week on Varsity Media. MacArthur Generals taking on the Carey Seahawks. Gavin Shaw alongside Ben Turchin here to bring it to you. Ben, these are two teams that have a storied rivalry. Carey's up by 2 in the all-time series. MacArthur comes in tonight the heavy favorite. But when they met up last postseason, it was a different story. Carey taking the win in a competitive affair. We have some highlights from that game just a couple months ago.
Yeah, back in the winter last year, you see Hugh Kelleher for MacArthur getting them on the board first, Gavin, but that's all the scoring MacArthur would have last year.
It was ultimately a tale of two halves. Carey dominated time of possession in the second half. MacArthur actually only got off 12 plays in the second half of last year's game. They're determined to ensure that it's a different story this time around. You see Carey picking up a 13-7 win, advanced to the Long Island Championship where they fell to Garden City. But this is a MacArthur team that has dominated time of possession all season long.
Yeah, and if MacArthur is going to win today, it's going to be on the legs of Hugh Kelleher. He is the do-it-all senior, number 25 for this Generals team, and he has had just an unbelievable start to the season, Gavin. 655 rushing yards. He's averaging 164 yards on the ground a game. That's incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. An all Long Island performer a year ago, 1,200 yards, 21 touchdowns, about 6'2", 210 pounds. Just a ridiculously sized high school running back, and his counterpart for Carey is going to be a key to this game for the Seahawks. Anthony DiNicolo, 37 carries for 242 yards a week ago in a 2-touchdown victory over Manhasset. That was an area they had struggled all year, Ben, but they really got the running game going last week.
Yeah, they absolutely needed to get that going against a good Manhasset team last week to get even their record to 2-2. They got it done, and I think they do want to pass, but they have to establish the run today. Carey does, and we'll take a look at their keys to the game. First, we'll start with MacArthur's keys to the game. We talked to Bobby Fehrenbach, and we thank him for all the time he gave us. But Gavin, as you see right here, MacArthur, they want to control the ball, control the clock. They want to stick to their assignments defensively, and Carey's going to give them a lot of formations. Don't get confused by the formations on defense. Stick to what they do best. That's MacArthur's keys to the game.
Yeah, absolutely. With a veteran quarterback in Jason Kessler, going to be crucial that Carey sticks to their keys. Now let's take the look at the keys to the game for the Seahawks side of things. Head coach Mike Stanley, longtime head coach of the Carey Seahawks. Their intent is to slow down Hugh Kelleher. Easier said than done, Ben. No teams managed to do it this year. Winning the turnover battle, in my mind, that's ultimately the key to this one. Carey is outmatched physically. They don't have quite the experience of their counterparts. They're going to have to get some big plays on the defensive side of the football.
Yeah, I mean, listen, and I want to say one other thing about the Generals. Gavin, hard to believe they've only given up 10 points this season. 4 games, 10 points. I'm not a math major, but I think that averages 2.5 points a game.
No, it's absolutely ridiculous. They've won by an average of over 30 points per game. You see MacArthur jog out here, the home team. You were mentioning a patriotic midfield, some patriotic uniforms, red, white, and primarily navy blue against the Carey Seahawks in their white with the orange helmets. It's going to be crucial for Carey to get off to a good start offensively. MacArthur coming off a game where they blew out a Mepham side that absolutely dominated Carey to open up their season.
Yeah, Mepham's off to a 3-1 start. We'll take a look at the conference standings momentarily. A little windy day here, windy evening, I should say. So ball comes off the tee. We'll give you the Conference 2 standings as they are heading into tonight. We got games tonight. We got games tomorrow in Conference 2, but we'll give you the most up-to-date standings we have.
Kickoff is on the way, and we are off for the Varsity Media Game of the Week. It'll be a return up the middle for Carey, going nowhere, and immediately you see the improved size and physicality of this MacArthur special teams.
Well, how about Finn Duffy, number 21, only a sophomore on special teams, coming up with that stick there against Carey. Nice tackle by 21.
So we'll get an early look at the Carey offense. Remember, led by veteran quarterback Jason Kessler in his third year as a starter. Anthony DiNicolo really getting things going recently, and then a versatile wide receiver core. Couple of different guys with experience. 3 of their 4 starters at receiver also played significant minutes a year ago.
Be curious to see if they come out running here. It was a little windy. We were on the field before the game. It was a little windy there on the field, so we'll see if they start running the ball or go right to the pass game.
It's an aspect of this game that could certainly impact Carey's strategy. They are a pass-first team by and large. As you see, they start off instead with a carry to DiNicolo that doesn't get very much.
I think that was actually Nick Cohen, number 30, I think, got the carry there. He's a junior. And it's interesting because we thought it would be DiNicolo to get the first carry, but not the case here.
So a little bit of trickeration from Carey. That's what they do offensively. They come out in the shotgun. They'll play almost exclusively shotgun. Kessler looking to pass into that wind, does so with ease. Rips a pass to look to be one of the Stein brothers there. A big early completion.
Yeah, Dan Stein.
Yeah, Dan Stein picking up a big catch in the early going.
Take another look at that. Nice throw by Kessler. Picking up right where he left off in the Manhasset game. You know, Carey was down 21-20 at halftime in that game last Friday night, and they held Manhasset scoreless in the second half.
Kessler looking deep over the middle, had a man, but slightly overthrew Nick Cowan there. Would have been another big gain for this Seahawks offense.
I like Carey's tempo here, Gavin, to start the game. You know, we talked about establishing a run, but Coach Carey is not going to do that, at least not on his first drive, or in the beginning of the drive, I should say. So 2 passes, 1 complete, 1 incomplete, but I like the way they're moving. I like the tempo.
And you love the aggressiveness. The only thing you question is why hasn't Anthony DiNicolo gotten the ball yet? 37 carries, 242 yards a week ago. He's playing his best football, and that question will be answered here. He gets the ball, and he doesn't get much. Stopped right around the line of scrimmage from a charging MacArthur defense.
Yeah, let's give credit there to Ryan Isom, number 26, the junior linebacker, 5'9". He was first there to make the stop.
Isom, also their second running back, comes in and plays with a whole lot of speed defensively.
And now we've got a 3rd and long here for Carey. So this is going to be a very interesting play here, Gavin. They've been moving the ball a little bit, and now a big 3rd down play here on their first offensive series.
And this has been a significant issue for them all season, being in 3rd and long, struggling to get into advantageous down and distance, and it comes down to running the ball well early on in a set of downs. So it looks like Carey will take some time to talk things over, slowing down from this rapid pace for just a second as Jason Kessler tries to figure out this Generals defense.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the huddle is on the MacArthur side of things with some of the officials in that huddle, so I'm not really sure if it was a uniform issue or what, but here we go, 3rd and long.
Kessler coming off just a monster game for Carey. He was 13 of 19, over 200 yards, 3 touchdowns. Officials blow it dead, and a timeout taken by MacArthur. Oh, no, an official's timeout.
I'm not really sure what is the reason for the stoppage. I don't think it's a clock issue. And you see Coach Bobby Ferenbeck is on the field. I mean, he's on the 30-yard line, so far away from where the play is. So, you know, up here it's hard to understand what's going on, but there's obviously a meeting here between the referee and one of the linesmen.
And has to be frustrating for Mike Stanley on that Carey side. They've been trying to impose pace from the first snap of this game, and slowed down by the officials now.
Yeah, it's interesting as you said that. You saw Carey was at the line, ready for the play. Now Coach Carey calls them back, because this is a long stoppage here. And, you know, I can't say that I've ever seen something like this before. This is a really extensive explanation about something that there wasn't a flag thrown. So what could it be? You know, it's a guessing game.
Well, it's a good opportunity for us to take a look at this MacArthur defense, which we haven't quite gotten to yet. The secondary for MacArthur, 7 interceptions on the year, and this a really key chance, Ben, for them to come out and make a play as you get a look at the starters here.
Yeah, we'll talk about Andrew Calderon throughout the game, number 59, and obviously Hugh Kelleher. He plays both sides of the field, offense and defense, and we'll talk about Hugh, big-time prospect throughout the course of this game. So Dan Calderon as well, Isom. I mean, there's so many names here. Manfredo, There's plenty of guys making plays left and right on this team.
Yeah, Joe Manfredo, also the starting quarterback at that linebacker position between Kelleher and Calderon, 2 all Long Island performers from a year ago, so that's a loaded spot. The entire front 7 for MacArthur, really, really talented.
All right, let's play some football.
Yeah, here we go. Back to it in the shotgun. Kessler gets the snap. Offensive line protects well, and he throws a pick, the 8th of the season for MacArthur. It was intercepted beautifully that time by Matt Popich. who doesn't get a whole lot of playing time, a sophomore coming in and picking it off.
Take a look at Kessler. I think he just overthrows his intended receiver way far. So I don't know if there was miscommunication on the route or that was just an errant pass that sailed too far.
Could be the wind as well.
Also windy on the field, but give credit to Matt Papich, only a sophomore with that pick. And, when you think about it, they would have punted if that was incomplete anyways. They would have wound up punting. And for all intents and purposes, MacArthur may have wound up right around that field position. So it's obviously Carey would have liked to complete the first down, but it's not the end of the world if you're Mike Carey. Mike Stanley, rather. You play defense now, you see what happens.
Yeah, it seemed like Carey lost that drive when they couldn't complete that pass on first down. A prime opportunity missed, and that's a lot of weight to put on Jason Kessler, but he's talented enough to warrant it, and he's going to have to be near perfect for Carey to win this game. So now let's take a look at that power running game, and they're all on top of Kelleher, but he just drags defenders, still not down. It takes about 5 Seahawks to eventually bring him into the turf.
Well, I was just going to say, that was one of Mike Stanley's keys to the game. We got to wrap Kelleher up. We can't let him have big plays on us, and they do that in the backfield, but he is so strong and so powerful that it takes, like you said, 5-6 carry defenders just to get him down. All that for a gain of a yard.
And that's sort of the scary thing for Carey, nearly perfect defending there, and Kelleher still gaining a yard. The MacArthur running back, a little taste of the avian flu there. Carey explosive in the front 7 to start things off. And remember, they shut him down a year ago trying to replicate the effort here. Kelleher left side, not going to happen this time. He'll pick up a first down with ease.
Wow, he is just so powerful as you see the run. He's able to stiff-arm defenders just for some extra yardage and some extra space. And I'm really excited to see Hugh Kelleher tonight. Some people, I don't want to throw this out there and get him too crazy yet, but some people have, the whispers are maybe this is a Thorpe Award candidate this year, which is the best player in Nassau County football. We've seen a lot of great players. We're still going to see some great players before the end of the season, but he's a candidate at least to say.
Worth noting from Bobby Fehrenbach, who's been the coach now at MacArthur for 20 years, he said Kelleher's, if not the best running back he's ever had, right in the mix, and he's making a case, exploding left side, stiff arm, still going, finally forced out of bounds around the 30.
We're going to run out of superlatives to say about number 25 by the end of the night. It's just, he's starting to get going as you see the another look at this, and they line up with 2 backs in front of him for extra blocking. But once he's at second level, Gavin, you can see how dangerous he is. It takes more than one guy to bring Kelleher down.
And obviously Kelleher is such a talent, but you got to give some credit to that offensive line. Just had a massive hole to run through there, and it's an experienced group for Coach Fehrenbach. 3 returning starters led by Sean Tierney as left tackle, an all-state performer a year ago.
Yeah, you see how MacArthur likes to line up here with their tight formation, tight end and 2 backs.
And they're predictable. You know what's coming. It's the same play over and over again. The question is, can you stop it? And with another first down for Kelleher, the answer is no so far.
Well, there's a flag on the play. And, again, the officials are throwing pink flags for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So with MacArthur also wearing pink, it's kind of hard to see, but there was a flag thrown. I think it's going to be holding. It's going to go back against MacArthur. I said 2 backs in the backfield before. I meant to say 3. But what Bobby Fehrenbach and the offense is doing is they're using those 2 backs to block for Kelleher. So they're really creating some space for the senior tailback.
And that's a great chance for us to get a look at the starters for MacArthur. Those 2 other running backs are Ryan Isom, who had himself a heck of a game last time out. 5 carries, 2 touchdowns on those 5 carries, and Mike Esposito, the new 3rd starter in there at fullback, but he's proven to be a load. We mentioned Dan Calderon, the all-county tight end from a year ago, a 3-year starter in his own right, and then just a veteran offensive line for this MacArthur group. Returned 3 out of 5 starters and a whole lot of size across the board. As you see the give to Kelleher again, shakes off a couple of tackles and nearly gets back to the original line of scrimmage.
Yeah, Connor Murray, number 24 for Carey. He got a hand in there to slow Kelleher up a little bit, but again, big running room there for Hugh.
And you just get the feeling he can rip off 10 yards essentially whenever he wants. Obviously, that first play wasn't very effective, but since then, just utter dominance for this MacArthur run game.
We get that starting lineup on the MacArthur offense. I don't know that we showed it to the folks, so let's pop that up really quick so they can see the starters for MacArthur. There you go, Manfredo, the quarterback, and obviously we talked about Kelleher.
You mentioned for MacArthur, one of the keys to the game, control the ball and the clock. They have done that with ease so far, but now the pink flag flies up again, so we'll see what that is. Maybe another setback for MacArthur, who's been surprisingly sloppy over the last couple of plays.
Yeah, it's going to be a false start.
Illegal motion against the Generals.
So that'll push it to 2nd and about 15 for the Generals. And now let's take a quick look after the penalty at the Carey defense that they had to essentially rebuild their whole defensive line, lost every starter from last season, but a couple different guys stepping up on that unit.
Keep an eye on Joseph Tadero, number 8, 2 sacks last week against Manhasset.
Just moved over from linebacker, and he's been effective at that defensive end spot. A lot of speed, but Kelleher goes right at him and through him. Kelleher turning the corners, dodging middle, and he'll go down inside the 20 reluctantly.
One of the things I'm noticing Carey is trying to do is arm tackle Kelleher, and I think they're trying to get the ball out of his hands. Let's take another look here in the beginning of the play. You see number 15 try to get the ball away from him. Gavin, I don't think that's the right angle to go here. I don't think that's the right strategy with Kelleher. You need to tackle ankles or waist down to bring him down. If you try that, he's too strong, upper body strength. He's just going to continue plowing through, and we'll see if Carey continue to try to do that defensively.
Yeah, it was James Stein trying to rip it out, and they just have not had an answer for him. Penalties have been the only hope, but Kelleher making them null and void with that run, so it'll be 1st and 10 right around the 15. Dodge by Isom, the second running back, and he gets tackled after maybe gaining a couple of inches.
Let's talk about Isom for a second, because I know a lot of attention is paid to Kelleher, but Isom is a nice change of pace back here for Coach Fehrenbach in this MacArthur offense. 300 yards on the season. He's averaging 75 a game as well, so we're going to see him get the ball today. When you combine Kelleher and Isom, you're talking about 240 yards of rushing a game. That's unstoppable.
Yeah, just ridiculous. Even better than they were a year ago when they were arguably alongside Garden City the best running team in all of Conference 2. And that's certainly going to be a fascinating matchup in a couple of weeks when those two meet up. Give this time back to Kelleher, dodging inside, now weaving right, working his way in for a touchdown. Kelleher.
Actually, I think that was Isom, number 26 there. Hard to see the numbers. 25 and 26 look the same. I was about to say before, he had 2 touchdowns last week against Mep. We'll take another look, and here he puts the first points on the board here from MacArthur. And you can tell, where Kelleher gives you the power back, he's a little more scat back, left, right, juke moves. Again, that's a nice combination here for the Generals.
Yeah, very shifty for Isom. We've said it a couple of times, but touchdowns on 40% of his carries a week ago. Just a guy with a nose for the end zone, and he puts the home team up 6-0. Last week we saw essentially everyone go for the 2-point conversion. Now a rare kick, good for the extra point. And it's a 7-0 lead for MacArthur. Extra point went down that time for Brian Carroll, their senior kicker, and we'll take a break on the Varsity Media Sports Network.
Welcome back. Our score here in the first quarter, 7-0, MacArthur over Carey. Let's take our look at our New York State prospect watch list. Some of the names that we want to feature here today that are either getting college looks or have aspirations to play football at the next level. And Gavin, we talked about Hugh Kelleher ad nauseum. He's got a verbal commitment to play lacrosse at Cornell. We'll see if he's going to stay with that, maybe play 2 sports. We don't know. We talked about him potentially being a Thorpe candidate this year. Ryan Isom, we've talked about him. He just scored that touchdown. Sean Tierney on the offensive line, 6'2", 225, a senior. And for Carey, you have Anthony DiNicola, the running back, Kessler, the quarterback, and we just talked about Tadero a moment ago. He's an athlete. He plays everywhere, but also 2 sacks against Manhasset a game ago. That's the Prospect New York State watch list. They do a tremendous job statewide recruiting athletes, getting athletes' attention, and promotion for the college level. They run a showcase coming up in the springtime. We'll have more information about that. Varsity Media will live stream that coming up in 2020 in the springtime. But again, Mark Vidicor and Prospect New York State, the watch list for tonight. They do a fantastic job.
Yeah, no, it's an incredible service, and that's ultimately what all these games are about, promoting the talent on each of these two teams, and there's a whole lot of it. Again, these two year in, year out, as Brian Carroll sends this one deep, amongst the best in Conference 2. Neither one has gone under 500 in over a decade, and MacArthur, again, looking good on special teams, not allowing any running room that time for Dan Stein.
Yeah, Mike Esposito, number 34, the senior. Let's take a look at the Conference 2 standings while we have a second here. We talked about Garden City, and we might talk about them at the end of the broadcast. There you see MacArthur 4-0. The listing in order is by PowerPoint, so you'll see that the records are different, but Nassau County does it by PowerPoints. Who do you beat, your competition, your preceding seedings and all that. So Garden City at the top, MacArthur the second, and there you see Carey at 2-2 a little bit further down. Those are the standings in Conference 2 right now.
Garden City dominating Carey when the two met up. It's actually a relatively close game through three quarters, 21-7, before Garden City, the Trojans just pulled away late, a 35-7 victory. Ultimately, we saw this Carey offense get off to a good start, passing the ball. Now they try it on the ground again, and no running room that time for DiNicolo trying to go up the middle.
But I like what they're doing here, and I think this is what you have to do. You don't want to fall too far behind early in the game. I think you need to establish the run. I believe Coach Stanley wants to do that, and I would stick with the run here. I know it wasn't a big gainer, if at all, but again, stick with the run and see what happens.
It's certainly been a fault, and this is something Mike Stanley will talk about openly. Their inability to establish the run early in games has doomed them time and time again this year, and that's why they're making such a concerted effort. Now they swing one out to the perimeter. Nick Cowan making his way to a first down.
Yeah, Cowan, his second reception for tonight, so he's a nice target here for Kessler early on in the first quarter.
All that being said about the run game, they've been fairly effective when they've decided to drop back and throw it. Interception aside, on that third down desperation heave, Kessler has had some open receivers.
Cowan had a touchdown in week 2 against Herrick's.
So Kessler works right again. This one will get up to the 40, about halfway to a first down. It was Nick Bell on the catch.
That's the thing about this Carey Seahawk team. They have so many guys that are going to touch the ball with Mike Stanley's offense. And that's something that Coach Fehrenbach was worried about, was the formations. How many guys come on the field? Look, you have trips at the top of your screen right now with 3 receivers. And that's what Carey does so well, Gavin, is they out-formation you. And they confuse you offensively, and that leads to you don't know who's coming out of the flat, you don't know who's running it out.
So now they go back to the run game. Finally some room for DiNicolo as he gets tripped up by the ankles after picking up 7.
Nice looking run there for the Seahawks, so that'll set up a 3rd and short, manageable here. I remember last time they were in this territory on a 3rd and 8. They threw an interception, so now 3rd and short, about 2 yards or so. They can run the ball here to get this first down.
There's Dan Calderon, the all-county performer, on the tackle that time. They'll exclusively work out of the shotgun. It's DiNicolo initially on Kessler's left. Now he goes to check the play. Kessler audibling. Going to be interesting to see if they try and push the ball down the field here again. Possibly 4-down territory the way MacArthur was moving it. Man in motion. Instead, they throw right, and they are able to pick up the first down, I believe, again, to Nick Bell.
Love that play call. You have a man come in the backfield in motion. We're going to take another look at this. We've talked about the formations. Watch, I think, on the bottom of your screen. There you see Cowan come in motion, and you're not sure if he's going to get the ball. But no, it's a pass in the flat on the sideline for the first down, Gavin. You don't really see too much of that in high school football. That's a nice offensive play there for Coach Stanley.
Yeah, you talk to Stanley, you can tell how intelligent of a guy he is, and he's just an extremely creative offensive mind, though. There's not a lot of scheming you can do against this MacArthur defensive line. Sean Tierney coming up big that time. Just a whole lot of size across the board. It's essentially their offensive line flipped. You just go down the roster, and it's absolutely ridiculous. Not too many teams on Long Island have size like 260, 285, 220. It's really just a luxury for this MacArthur coaching staff.
You had mentioned Stanley in the offense. You know, these coaches at the high school level, they're always trying to find the next big play, what's going to work for my team. There's clinics in the offseason. They travel upstate New York, Pennsylvania, wherever there are college coaches putting on clinics. Oh,
and that one tipped up and caught beautifully by James Stein. A magic trick for the junior wide receiver, and heck of a throw from Kessler to stay in there. Let's take a look at that replay. You see Sean Tierney coming right off the edge. He was right in Kessler's face and got a big hit.
Yeah, Cowan getting his paws up in the air, and if he doesn't do that, that could have been intercepted, folks. So the fact that Cowan went up for that helps out Carey in that situation, comes right down with the ball. James Stein, nice catch.
So Carey gets a fortuitous bounce. We'll see now if they can take advantage of it. You just get the feeling they're going to have to score essentially every possession to stay in this one. MacArthur might be methodical with that run game, but they're so explosive and seemingly unstoppable at points.
And I think we had a penalty there because the ball is being moved even further up the field for Carey. So that was on MacArthur, and now they're in great field position. Ball's on the 26-yard line for Carey.
Yeah, might have been a roughing the passer after Tierney ran into him because they got an extra 15 yards. They were at the 41, now they're at the 26. So advantageous field position for the Seahawks, nearing the red zone, and a chance to even up this game with 1st and 10.
Well, we thought it was going to be a good game, and, you know, Carey, again, they have pride. They don't want to fall too far behind. They match up well with MacArthur.
Kessler, long toss over the middle, picked off again, second straight possession to end with an interception. That time it was Colin Muller, the top receiver for the Generals, coming up with it.
Again, now we'll take another look at that, Gavin, but I don't know if that pass is overthrown or if there's miscommunication down the field, but that's such a killer because you're in the red zone or just outside the red zone as you see the pass. Yeah, that was overthrown. Only one receiver, double coverage there around the 12-yard line, and that was just an errant pass. Unlucky, unfortunate, because Carey was moving the ball.
It's worth noting, though, Nick Cowan just stopping on his route there, didn't finish it off, and I think that was Kessler's expectation. It would have been an ill-advised pass regardless, but that is what made it such an easy interception for Colin Muller. And you're right, it's a shame. Carey, every opportunity to be right into this game. 2 great drives to start off, but 2 poor decisions from their quarterback, and now we get to see that powerful run game come back out.
Well, Carey's going to have to stop them defensively right here because they are moving the ball against MacArthur. It's just the turnovers right now that are hurting them. You eliminate those turnovers, could be 7-7 right now, could be 14-7 Carey. So I think Stanley will clean that up. I think he'll talk to Kessler on the sideline, and we'll see what happens here defensively for Carey.
MacArthur back in that traditional 3-back look. Here's Kelleher, fresh after not carrying the ball a couple of times, and he streaks down the field. 2 defenders to beat. Breaks an ankle tackle. He's still going. Kelleher all the way for 6.
Are you kidding me with that run? Unbelievable. How many guys is it going to take to bring this guy down? So big, so strong, and fast, and quick. He has all the tools, Gavin. 70-yard run to the house. I don't know the Carey's going to stop this guy all day.
I think it was almost 80. And it looked like someone was going to push him out along that sideline, but it just never happened.
Cowan goes underneath. Not a bad idea for a little chop tackle. And 3 guys with an attempt, but again, too strong, too fast, too big. 13-0 Generals.
It's a joke. He genuinely epitomizes the phrase, a man amongst boys. He looks like he doesn't belong on this level.
And that's why people in Nassau County, looking at the stats, seeing what he's doing week after week, and saying potential Thorpe winner. Obviously candidate, he's going to be nominated, but potential winner, best player in Nassau County. Pretty cool that we get a chance to see him tonight.
So Carroll puts that one through the uprights, and it's MacArthur in control, up 14-0 at home in the Varsity Media Game of the Week. Back to action, Varsity Media, Game of the Week. Gavin Shaw, Ben Turchin here with you. An 80-plus yard run from the star Kelleher has MacArthur up by 2 touchdowns. And we were just talking about it during the break, Ben. I was watching him go down that sideline. I figured someone was going to push him out, and it just never happened.
No, it never happened. And I think I shortchanged to you, by the way, because I think I had counted for about a 74-yard run, but you correctly said that was over 80 yards on the first play of their offensive series. That's just how dangerous this Generals team can be with Kelleher in the backfield. They could score, Gavin, from 80 yards on a run at any time, really, with this guy.
And it was funny. We asked Bobby Farrenbach, what are your keys to the game? He said, ball control. We want to run the ball. And who would think those two might be mutually exclusive? They're scoring so fast, running it, that they might not win time of possession.
Right. He did mention that not only do they want to run the ball, but they want to control the clock. Well, you're running the ball, but you're scoring in 10 seconds. You're not really controlling the clock. But you're up 14-0, so I think he's happy with that.
Can't complain. Nick Cowan didn't get much on that return. Starting field position will be right around the 27 for Carey, who's moved the ball effectively so far in this one, but back-to-back interceptions from Jason Kessler have stymied them as they've approached the red zone.
And if you're Carey right now, we talked about this when they had their last offensive set. You don't want to get too far behind early. We're still in the first quarter here, 1:29 to play. You don't want to say this is a dangerous time, but it kind of is, because MacArthur is showing that they can score on every offensive drive. So you have to control the clock here if you're Carey, and you need to run the ball a little bit more than you have been in the first quarter.
And unfortunately for Carey, this is a situation they've found themselves in twice already this season, against Mepham and against Garden City, where they were down big, had to throw the ball, and they weren't very effective doing it, even though this is a spread offense, and you would think they'd be the type of group that would. They just don't quite have the horses on either side of the line of scrimmage to pull that off. So in a lot of senses, and maybe this sounds exorbitant, but it feels like this is the game for Carey. They have to get something going here.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. And, they were down, albeit only by a point, against Manhasset last week, but they were able to shut them out in the second half. So as we're going to get a false start here by Carey. So who knows? Maybe Mike Stanley at halftime. And we still have the second quarter, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. But we still have a second quarter to play here. But the point is, you don't want to get too far behind too quickly against a team that's 4-0 that many people think has the best chance to upset Garden City if they're going to lose a game, which we'll talk about throughout the course of the broadcast here. So, very important drive for Carey. Going backwards right now, you don't want to see that. It kind of takes the run out of the mix a little bit. And again, if Kessler has to put the ball in the air, Gavin, he's got to make sure that it's not in an area where there are more defenders than his receiver.
And obviously that penalty won't help. Sets up about a 2nd and 14 as the first quarter clock ticks down. Now under 35 seconds as Kessler takes the snap. Looks right, throws right, incomplete. Intended target there was his slot receiver, Frank Scarantino, who's been extremely reliable this year, but couldn't quite handle that heat.
Yeah, Scarantino with the touchdown last week against Manhasset. I don't know if Kessler's playing a little anxious right now, if he's a little excited. Just needs to settle down a little bit, because that pass was there and could have had a gainer there. Now it's 3rd and very long.
And that gives a guy like Sean Tierney a chance to just tee off on the quarterback. He's rushing hard now instead of tall throw. That one nearly could have been picked as well. A couple of diving attempts on it. Matt Popich, who figured out or picked up an interception on the opening drive, was in the vicinity. So it'll set up the first punt of the game, or the first official punt anyways, for Carey, as they, unfortunately for them, will be returning the ball to Kelleher.
Right, and again, you were right on that throw. He got very fortunate that was not picked off, because there were 3 Generals in the vicinity of that ball, and it just somehow found the carpet. That could have been going the other way, could have even been a pick 6. So Carey not able to do anything offensively here, and MacArthur going to get the ball back still in the first quarter.
And MacArthur looking like they could go for the punt block here. Nick Bell will try to get it off. He does, but just barely good hang time, but the ball's not going to go very far pending a bounce. It takes an excellent one for the Seahawks as they're just able to push the ball into MacArthur territory. So we'll take a break on the Varsity Media Sports Network. MacArthur looking to build on a 2-touchdown lead. Second quarter about to get underway here on the Varsity Media Sports Network. It was all MacArthur in the first, a 2-touchdown lead. I'm Gavin Shaw alongside Ben Turchin here to bring it to you. We were talking about, for this MacArthur side, they've been so dominant this year, winning games by an average of right around 35 points a night. The real challenge is going to come in a couple of weeks when they take on Garden City, who's looking to set a record for consecutive wins here in Power 2.
Yeah, that's for sure. Garden City is undefeated. MacArthur is undefeated. They play each other on October 26th, coming up in a couple of weeks. We'll talk about Garden City as the broadcast moves on, but they've got a big-time record that MacArthur, it's a little tease, may have something to say about. We'll leave it there.
It's excellent field position again for MacArthur as they get back to work on the ground, dodging tacklers and picking up another first down is Kelleher.
Actually, that's Isom again. And, it's tough with the numbers, but, you could tell the difference in the running style by the two of them because Kelleher is a much more powerful back. He's going to really ram it right down your throat. What I like about Isom, the change of pace here for MacArthur, is he's change of direction type back. He almost can Barry Sanders, stop on a dime and go the other way. And you saw it right there, very shifty. And that's tough on a defense, Gavin, because you're focused on one way to bring a guy down, and now it's a whole different kind of tackling.
Yeah, Coach Fehrenbach certainly does an excellent job mixing those two in. So now they go back to the big power back, and Kelleher leaps over a man and will get close to another first at the 33. It'll be second and about 1 as MacArthur just continues to run it down Carey's throat.
How do you stop that? I mean, seriously, you just saw that play. He's in the air. He's got speed. He's diving. I mean, I don't even know how you can stop a player like that.
And we mentioned, you look when they run to the left side of that offensive line. Sean Tierney, the left tackle, All-State. Matt Kakos, 260 pounds. Greg Malau at center, 285 pounds. What do you do?
The beef is there, It's nice to run behind that.
And you work your way through those guys, and you're like, wait, the running back is bigger than all of them.
Right.
It's just ridiculous. It's frankly, it's cruel and unusual punishment for this Carey defense. Kelleher trying to go outside this time, this time it isn't Kelleher, and he'll sprint his way to the sideline, easily picking up the first down and working his way inside the 25.
Yeah, he's got speed too. I mean, he's got everything, every tool you could possibly want in a running back. He's bounced it outside quickly, saw something wasn't going on up the middle, so able to get a first down.
Have you gotten to see him play lacrosse yet, Ben?
No.
I'd be fascinated. I haven't either. That wasn't a rhetorical question. I'm curious to see what he looks like in that sport. I mean, I would imagine just as much of a freak of nature in that as he is in football.
Well, he's got the verbal commitment to Cornell to play lacrosse. And, if I'm the Cornell football coach, I'm thinking, how do we get him on the football team?
I was going to say, it'd be a shame if this was it for him. I mean, he's certainly a college talent at the running back spot.
Got a flag there. You can tell how windy it is because the sideline official threw the flag and it went backwards. It didn't land on the field. It landed out of bounds. And we might get a hold there on MacArthur, so that's going to come back. Isom, by the way, with the carry there. I just really like the change of pace that MacArthur has with these two running backs. I think that's why they've been so effective through the course of halfway through the season so far. I mean, you're 240 yards on the ground, 160 coming from Kelleher, 75 coming from Isom. Again, like we said, it's hard to stop.
It's a good rhythm.
You're going to get a face mask, actually, I believe, on Carey. So that is unfortunate. I think only a 5-yarder.
So that'll push the ball up to 11, adding 5 yards to the end of the run from Isom. And you start to wonder, okay, is MacArthur ever going to throw it? The answer for the most part this year has been no. They've attempted just 13 passes all season long, and maybe some would argue this is an excellent chance to try out some play action, but you know what? If it ain't broke,
right,
don't fix it.
I don't think you're going to get a pass here. I really don't.
So Manfredo, who we've hardly mentioned, under center. Give to Kelleher again, this time brought down by the ankles. Good tackle from the interior of that defensive line that time.
I think that was Raymond.
Yeah, Ray Betty.
Yep, and you're right. That was a great tackle. That's how you have to bring Kelleher down, so give him credit.
And again, the reason Carey was able to slow him down a little bit last year is they had such a veteran defensive line, a couple of guys who had started for 2 or 3 seasons. Every single one of those players graduated, 4 new starters on the defensive line. They don't play any of the, with one exception, Aiden Duna. They don't play any of the offensive linemen on the defensive line, so this is really a young group, and they're getting a rude awakening here as Kelleher bullies his way inside again for another touchdown.
Yeah, the holes are just too big right now. I mean, the offensive line, you've mentioned it ad nauseum tonight. They're doing an excellent job for Kelleher. He doesn't even need holes that big, but if you can make it that easy for the running back, I mean, let's take a look at this right here. You're going to see left side, the blocking, the fullback, and I mean, no one touches him until he gets to the goal line.
How fun must it be to be you, Kelleher? You get those big holes. You see a defender, you're like, oh, I'm bigger than him. You see another one, oh, I'm faster than him. He's having a good time right now.
And what this does is it kind of takes the running attack out for Carey. It's going to make them one-dimensional. At this point now, they have no choice but to put the ball in the air.
Carroll continues to be perfect on extra points. MacArthur goes up by 21, and we'll take a break on the Varsity Media Sports Network. Thank you for joining us back on the Varsity Media Sports Network. A beatdown through the early second quarter for MacArthur, up 21-0 over Carey. An excellent atmosphere, Ben. We were mentioning how patriotic it is, the number of American flags in the press box. You see the beautiful American M at midfield, and some excellent fans in the building tonight.
Oh, yeah, this is just a tremendous place. Great atmosphere here at MacArthur. Very welcoming. We want to thank Keith Snyder, the athletic director at MacArthur, for having us here tonight. And I want to give a couple of shout-outs to some of the women working the MacArthur concession stand. We've gotten to know them over the course of a few months or so, and they've been very generous to us and very welcoming. And as we see the kickoff here, we have to say hello to Danielle Calderon. She's got two boys on the MacArthur team. And Aunt Linda, she made it known to us. Make sure you tell everybody that Aunt Linda is working that concession stand here at MacArthur. So we wanted to give a little love to Aunt Linda. But like you said, great atmosphere here. And that's what's great about Nassau County football. Friday night, as we're seeing more and more teams play Friday night under the lights, which is really where high school football is meant to be played on Friday nights. And here is like no other. Great atmosphere, great fans here at MacArthur, and again, lots of love for the ladies in the concession stand.
Yeah, shout out to them. It was a short kick that time for Carroll. His leg might be sore. He's gotten a lot of work through about a quarter and a half of play. And it's going to be Carey operating quickly again. Quick screen out to Scarantino, who sprints, showing off the speed and getting inside MacArthur territory.
Oftentimes you'll hear coaches say a pass in the flat kind of is a disguise as a run, or it's a way to continue to run the ball when you can't go up the middle. So here you see a nice, safe, easy pass in the flat. High percentage play, Gavin, and look at the yardage that Carey is able to pick up. Again, Mike Stanley and his offense, give credit to him.
And I think most importantly, this Carey team desperate for some momentum. They got it quickly to open up their fourth drive of the game. Now they give, dodging a couple of tacklers, is D. Nicola doing his best Hugh Kelleher impersonation there. He gets to the 25.
This drive is off to a very good start, and for Carey, they want points at the end of this. And they've got something cooking here, Gavin. If they can get on the board, and remember, we've talked about MacArthur in 4 games has only given up 10 points. If they could put a touchdown on the board here, they'd have to feel pretty good about that with plenty of time left in the second quarter.
They are going extremely fast right now. 2 receivers on either side. D. Nicola stays in the block. They throw left. Easy catch that time for Dan Stein as he gets close to the 10.
And that time, Kessler was able to complete the pass. Defenders were around, but give him credit because he's thrown 2 interceptions earlier in this game, but he's not letting that get to him. Making another big-time throw, and Carey's on the move.
Kessler completely a rhythm quarterback. You see when he gets hot, he's really effective. So 3 receivers stacked right. They fake it. Kessler keeps it down Main Street in for 6. Carey on the board.
Just an unbelievable drive by Mike Stanley and the Carey Seahawks. They needed it. They came through, a couple of passes, a couple of runs, and what a job there. I think many would have been faked out on this play. Let's take another look because you're expecting run in the shotgun, run RPO, quarterback keeps it himself, past the defenders. That's a great play, Gavin. Carey needed it, and they got it.
And a late tackle attempt from Dan Calderon, who was one of the few generals not fooled, and Kelleher able to shake him off and dive in for 6. So a big-time drive for the veteran quarterback, both running and passing the football. And a little bit of life for Carey. We'll see if it does anything for them defensively, though that extra point getting blocked will certainly stall momentum for the moment. It was number 26, Ryan Isom, coming in and getting the block, so he's getting it done on both ends.
Yeah, that is an outstanding block there by Isom. But the bottom line is Carey needed points, and they got the points here on this drive.
So we'll take a break on the Varsity Media Sports Network. A little bit of life for the Carey Seahawks. So how about that? The Carey Seahawks, 5 plays, about 65 yards on the drive. Pretty much picture-perfect quarterbacking performance there from Jason Kelleher.
Yeah, give Kelleher credit for bouncing back after a couple of picks. My only question, Gavin, is where was that to start the game? Where was that in the first quarter? Obviously, you can see Carey has the potential and the ability to move it on MacArthur, but up here in the booth, we're talking in the break and we're saying, where was that early on in the game? I know we had 2 interceptions, but we'd like to see more of that here, and hopefully we'll get that from Carey.
They were pushing the ball down the field pretty well. It was those 2 overthrows, and honestly, it didn't. I mean, Ben, you're the analyst. Let me know if you agree. It came down to Kelleher playing within himself and not really forcing anything on that last drive.
Yeah, I think it's that, and I also think that the offensive coordinator and head coach had some safe calls for Kelleher. Let him get in a rhythm, right? Let him get in a groove. A couple of easy passes, some passes like we talked about in the flat that kind of work as a run as well to help establish that, and you get some space. And then the one throw that he did have around the 20-yard line, I thought that was the best throw of the drive because there were defenders around, and those resulted in interceptions earlier in the game. So, like you said, give him a lot of credit to bounce back, all completions on that drive, and then the touchdown, to score the touchdown too. That's got to give him a lot of confidence.
So it looks like they're going to redo the kickoff.
Yeah, I don't know why everybody came to the sideline there. Both teams went to the side. I don't know what that was all about, but here we go.
So it'll be sent deep by the Carey Seahawks. And we'll see if they can finally tackle you, Kelleher. It hasn't been easy so far. We were going over in the break saying, do you think Carey can make this a game? And the telling element of that will be if they can string together a series of stops defensively. They've gotten 1 here or there. Haven't done it for 2 consecutive plays, much less 3 yet. The challenge is on its way now as Nick Bell gets a really good kick deep.
You don't see too many kicks like that at the high school level, all the way out to the 3.
And an excellent kickoff return. A good burst to get it all the way to the 30 that time.
I think the kick was so good, Gavin, that it didn't give his special teams unit a chance to get down the field. It was such a powerful kick so that the returner was able to get to the 30-yard line. And, you hit the nail right on the head here. Defensively, Carey has to come out, and they have to stop 25. And not only 25, they have to stop 26. They have to stop Kelleher and Isom. It's a 2-man show. MacArthur hasn't thrown the ball yet. So it's not like you don't know what you need to do. You just have to go and execute.
It was the 3rd running back, James Catcher, on that kickoff return. He's sort of the man in waiting when Kelleher and Isom graduate. And you're absolutely right. You talk to Bobby Fehrenbach, and he'll say, look, it's not really complicated. You know what we're doing. It's the same play right. It's the same play left. Can you stop it? The answer's largely been no as Kelleher continues to shake off defenders, but that time at least Carey on top of it and holding him to only about 3 yards there.
Well, that was a gang tackle by Carey. That's what you need, but Kelleher was able to still get yardage out of that. You can't tackle him high. You can't tackle him by the chest area, the shoulder pads area. To get him down, it has to be waist down, ankles like we saw down around the 10-yard line on the last series when they wound up scoring a touchdown anyways. But again, making cuts, and at that point, you got to do whatever you can to bring him down, right? If it takes 4 guys, that's what's going to have to happen.
I think it's worth noting MacArthur has at most faced 2 third downs in this game, so even just stalling them from getting the first here would be a big victory for this Seahawks defense. They go right side. It's not going to happen. A first down again for this rushing attack for MacArthur.
That's Isom that time with the speed. And, what else can you say here? It's a 1-2 punch. Kelleher on first, Isom on second, and you can't stop it.
And it'll be interesting to see if Carey switches up their approach defensively, maybe bringing in some run blitzes, doing a couple different things. But, I mean, Carey knows. Mike Stanley talked about this pregame. You get aggressive on the defensive line. You start doing stunts and different things. It just gets you more and more exposed for a big run with a talent like Kelleher or Isom on the other side of the football.
Well, you mentioned their offensive line for MacArthur. That's such a strength and an advantage for them. It's just about pushing through and making tackles right now for the Seahawks.
Manfredo just checked out of something. Didn't do much as Isom explodes into the secondary. He has some power in his own right. How did he stay up there all the way near the 30?
Well, what happened there is Carey's going for the football. We talked about in the beginning of the game. We're going to show it to you again here. You cannot tackle that way. That might be the strategy to try to get the ball loose from the running back, but give credit to these MacArthur runners. Here you see right here, trying to get the ball out of his hands, and Isom is too good and gains another 5-6 yards because of that. Instead of trying to tackle low, it's another 5 yards.
It was Nick Bell running in, but there's such an emphasis throughout this MacArthur program on ball security. When you run every play, it's such a necessity, and clearly both Kelleher and Isom, they're extraordinarily fundamentally sound in how they cradle that ball, and so strong between the two of them. Even Isom, who's not as big of a guy, you see the power, you see the hand strength. It's hard to get that ball out of his hands.
I mean, Isom is the star, folks. I mean, let's not – it's the Hugh Kelleher show right here. I don't know if he's going to stop.
Yeah, he goes right side, lays down a stiff arm, pushed out of bounds inside the 5.
But the point is, on another great run there by Hugh, the point is that Isom is great in his own right. I mean, this guy, they're both starters on this team, but he could be playing on any other high school team, and he could easily get multiple carries or more carries than Kelleher can. Like both of these guys are, it's like 1A, 1B. Let's put it this way. There isn't a coach in Nassau County that wouldn't want either of these guys on their team.
Absolutely, but it's such a benefit to both of them. Even someone like Kelleher, who does have games where he gets a whole lot of carries, he keeps that tread on the tires, and while at the time it's questionable whether or not he wants to play football at the next level, that can't help but be a good thing.
Right, and right now Kelleher actually comes out to the sideline, and he's favoring his ankle. But, this could just be a breather, like you had mentioned, because you have the confidence that Isom here from 3 yards can score.
Isom will try to do just that, working his way right, and he'll score another one, his second touchdown of the game. And MacArthur continues to extend this lead up by 21 once again, pending the extra point.
Well, he picks up right where he left off last week against Mepham, as you're about to see the touchdown again. Isom with 2 touchdowns in that game against the Pirates in a 42-0 win last weekend. And here you go, his second touchdown tonight. 4 touchdowns now in 2 games. Pretty impressive.
And Carey, a great offensive possession, but it's all null and void because their defense still can't seem to find an answer to this rushing attack.
And one other point on Isom that we should mention, he's only a junior, Gavin, so you get this again next year, and you got to be thrilled if you're the Generals.
Yeah, they're not going to have quite the same offensive line they had this year, but you know what, the way they're rolling, it just sort of plug and play for this MacArthur side.
And right now, let's keep it here because I don't know if this is an impending storyline or if this is just stretching out, maybe a little cramp. But Kelleher is actually on the sideline, getting looked at by the trainer, and so we'll have to just monitor that. Again, I don't think that's with the way Isom is running. I think he can handle the rest of the running duties if need be. But you don't know how serious this is. It just looks like maybe a cramp.
We'll Do our best to find out as we go along. MacArthur up by 22 on the Varsity Media Sports Network. So we'll get another look at the Carey offense in just a second as the MacArthur run game continues to roll the points. 4 possessions, 4 touchdowns for the Generals. We did see Kelleher getting some work done, but looked like it was most likely just a cramp, much to the relief of the MacArthur side and probably the disdain of the Carey Seahawks.
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, and obviously you don't want to lose Kelleher for any extended action, but the way that Isom is running the ball today, Ryan Isom, the junior, it really doesn't matter. It's 1A, 1B. MacArthur doesn't really miss anything. They might miss physicality and things of that nature, but Isom is very impressive running back in his own right.
I do think over the course of a season it makes a big difference that they have both of them and just the ability to keep Kelleher fresh. It's such a luxury and somehow not have a significant drop-off with the guy who might be the player of the year in Nassau County. So it's going to be good starting field position for Carey as they approach midfield. 4.5 minutes to work. It's almost an issue for the Seahawks of not wanting to score too fast. It's going to be MacArthur getting the ball to open half number 2. If you're Carey, the best case scenario here, Ben, I would figure is you put the ball in the end zone with maybe 20 seconds on the clock.
Right, I completely agree with you. You don't want to give MacArthur the ball back here, but if you can get on the board again, make it 28-12, 28-13, or 28-14, again, 2 scores going into the second half, you'd feel pretty good about that, like you're in the game. So it would be nice if you're the Seahawks to get back into the end zone. And like you said, ball on the 46-yard line. That's great field possession.
Carey fresh off their best drive of the game. 5 plays, 65 yards. Jason Kessler was flawless. And a nice little carry for Anthony DiNicola as well.
They'll have to do it again here on this drive.
Kessler looking left. He's mostly thrown right. A bullet to James Stein. Will pick up another first down.
One of the things that we haven't really talked about with this Carey offense is how crisp they are through the air. Very impressive because most high school teams, they don't throw like this. But when Kessler's dropping back, receivers are wide open, number 1. They're making the catches, number 2. And they're gaining yards, which is, all in all, pretty impressive.
It's a timing offense, and if that timing isn't disrupted, Carey going to continue to be really effective, and a big miss that time from Stein. And that's what it's all about for the Seahawks, staying ahead on down and distance. I was wrong. They didn't pick up a first on that initial throw, so it's going to be 3rd and very short, but a missed opportunity there. And now if they can't get a yard, all of a sudden it's danger zone. You got to punt back to MacArthur again.
Well, that was my fault. So everybody from Carey, you could blame me. I jinxed you guys talking about how crisp the passing offense was, and then there was a drop. So I'll take the heat on that one.
So big 3rd down, give to DiNicola. No, a fake. Kessler keeps it, slides, and picks up the first. And it's a good decision by him because DiNicola would have been stopped and down well before the first down marker.
Sean Tierney, number 66, on our Prospect New York State watch list with the tackle there, the senior, 6'2", 255 yards. And they're moving the sticks, so I don't know if...
He picked up a first down.
Picked up the first down.
And that was a business decision from Jason Kessler. Saw Tierney bearing down on him and was like, you know what, I don't really need that in my life, and decided to slide. So it'll be 3 receivers right. The good news for Carey is they slow it down a little bit, get the clock down to 3:19. They're not moving too fast so far, right on pace as long as they can keep picking up first downs. Now a shot downfield, a receiver wide open. It was Frank Scarantino, but a little bit too tall for him.
I thought there was a chance that he could have had that. It would be great if we could see that again. It was a very tightly thrown ball. It had zip on it. But I don't know what happened there, why he couldn't get his hands on it, maybe a little too high. But again, you can't miss those throws because he could have walked in for 6 after that catch.
Well, it's been a theme for Kessler for long stretches, especially on short passes. Very, very sharp, very accurate. Going down the field a little bit more inconsistent. A couple of dimes and a couple of throws over his receivers' head. 2 of them result in interceptions. A quick toss that time out to Scarantino will pick up about 7 after the diminutive wide receiver was able to duck a tackle.
Nice catch and nice pass play right there. Way to come back after the errant throw. And right here, it's 2 down territory. So on 3rd and about 3.5, you can run the football here. You could look for a screen, you could look for a draw, but run is definitely an option.
Kelleher instead will keep it in the air. They set up a jailbreak screen, and it works to perfection that time to Dan Stein.
Yeah, nice job running the screen out on the near side of the field. And again, give credit to Carey. They come up with these formations, they come up with these plays, and a little bit keeping MacArthur on their heels. There's the pass.
How about that blocking,
yes,
Ben?
Great block there. Looked like 55. And that was Aiden Duna. And he freed up the receiver for even extra yards. They call it yak, Gavin.
Duna, their most athletic lineman, the only one who plays on both ends. Kelleher, pump fake, shot at the end zone, has a man again, and his receiver didn't turn around in time, and Dan Stein, again, it's hard to tell on some of those downfield throws, whether it's a miscommunication and it's a receiver not running his route, ideally, or Kelleher just missing on the pass.
I think the route was run perfectly, actually. I just think it was overthrown because on that route, the receiver gave a little fake and got himself open. It was a great out and up. I was watching it the whole time. If the ball is there, it's a touchdown. So they are not connecting on the deep throws like you had mentioned.
Kelleher was a nice little pump, but again, the play didn't quite work. Again, keeps it on the read option and picks up about 4. In terms of timing, it's okay for Carey that they missed on that pass. Again, the whole intent is to not give MacArthur the ball back with anything more than 30 to 45 seconds on the clock with the way they're running the ball and how explosively their offense is working. Kelleher working to the 10. Officials blew it dead right away. Maybe they thought forward progress was stopped that time for Dan Stein. Hard to tell exactly why they ended the play.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I mean, he blew that whistle as soon as the receiver made the catch. I mean, a tackle wasn't even made there. So I don't know exactly why the official would have blown it. But now we're going to have looks like a measurement. I believe it's 4th down here. So this is a big play for Carey.
Yeah, that was strange. It looked like he certainly could have broken that tackle and gotten more yards.
We're talking to Danielle Calderon right there for the pause, asking us if we need things here in the press box. She's really taking care of us, Gavin, here.
No, I mean,
that's the hospitality you get when you come to MacArthur.
She must have heard the shout out. That's why it's free advertising.
They do a great job here at MacArthur, and it's great that Varsity Media can come here. We've been all over Nassau County. We've been as far south, I think, as Oceanside. We've been as far north last Saturday night, right, Gavin, to Cold Spring Harbor, which is basically the edge of Nassau, Suffolk County. A lot of people think Cold Spring Harbor is Suffolk County, but the school district is Nassau. As we see right here, MacArthur is signaling 4th down. I thought it was 4th down as well. But to come here to center of Nassau County at MacArthur is a treat for us to be here as well. We thank the athletic director and everybody here.
And if it's 4th down, they could have brought out a piece of paper to measure that. It looked like it was just by an inch. So if Carey can just dive forward and gain a little bit of positive yardage, they should be able to pick it up. But I think that makes the decision from the officials even more egregious to see if Dan Stein could have gotten forward. I got the premise that he was wrapped up a little bit, and maybe they ruled out that he could have gotten further forward progress from there. But it seemed like he was on his way to breaking out, and when he only needed an inch, that's a shame that the officials decided to blow that play dead.
I agree with you, and I think it's a QB sneak here. I don't think you mess around if you're Mike Stanley. You need this yard, and they're going to actually call a timeout. Carey is.
Yeah, and I guess the only question on it is whether or not you trust your offensive line to get a push against all the size that MacArthur packs. We'll find out next on the Varsity Media Sports Network. Thanks for joining us back. Varsity Media Game of the Week. Gavin Shaw, Ben Turchin here with you. I would say, Ben, play of the day for Carey. 4th and inches coming up right here. Absolutely have to get this one to stay in this game.
Right, and I wouldn't mess around. I wouldn't get too creative here because, again, inches, you just want to dive forward like you said, and maybe you put a little muscle there in the backfield. and just try to push this forward. But Carey needs this, Gavin. They're so close. Want to make it a 2-score game here. We'll see if they can convert on a 4th and short.
And it's worth noting for Carey, they never operate from under center, always in the shotgun, so they're sticking that way here. And that could change up what play they call. Instead of delayed give to Dinacola, and I don't think he got it. Didn't look like he gained an inch.
I think MacArthur stopped him, Gavin, and that is critical. It wasn't a bad play call. Again, you had mentioned just the MacArthur defensive front might have been too much on that play.
A whole lot of size. Again, a couple of guys over 250 pounds on that defensive line. And this is the situation they live for. You want to gain an inch? Too bad. We're going to push you back. And MacArthur will take over right around the 14 with 1:49 left on the clock. The way they're running the ball, you can't rule out another touchdown for the Generals before we hit halftime.
Dan Calderon, number 15, making that play, him and another teammate with the penetration right on the snap. And I think, Gavin, just as a football fan, and you had mentioned shotgun, I think that hurt Carey a little bit because the shotgun allowed MacArthur to come up a little bit. Calderon was able to come in with the pressure and the pursuit and stop him in the backfield. So in any event, MacArthur on offense now.
You would say MacArthur could get conservative in this situation, but that's really all they do. So good news for them. Kelleher looking perfectly spry on that carry, perhaps just a cramp when we saw him getting worked out on the sideline a couple minutes ago. Again, still touching up those ankles, but another opportunity for MacArthur to push this ball down the field in the run game.
Yeah, well, one thing, if you minimize the big play, talking about Carey on defense, then because MacArthur is primarily a run team, it's going to take them a while to get to the other end. So Carey right now just wants to make sure they don't give up the big play.
And that ultimately comes down to not going for the ball as much. Trying to tackle by the ankles. They attempt to do just that. Kelleher does a little flip and gets past the 35 on it.
It's almost like he's a grasshopper. I mean, it's like once you go low, because there was a defender who made a good attempt to go low on his ankles, he's like skipping. He's like getting in the air. I've really never seen this kind of running style before. It's pretty amazing.
It's certainly unique. So a timeout taken by the MacArthur Generals. We'll take a break with them on the Varsity Media Sports Network, trying to add 6 more points before we hit halftime here on the Varsity Media Sports Network. Look at the MacArthur Generals as they continue to roll their way down the field. Again, Gavin Shaw, Ben Turchin here with you on the Varsity Media Sports Network. We were asking Coach Fehrenbach if Kelleher was the best running back he's ever coached pregame, and he initially said yes, and they said, we've had all these other guys. His older brother was pretty good, but you could kind of tell Kelleher is just a little bit different.
Yeah, he's an unbelievable player. We've talked ad nauseum about him in this whole first half, and it's crazy to think it's only the second quarter, Gavin, which means we get a whole nother half of football. I mean, he's got to have over 100, maybe 150 yards after that big 80-yard run for the touchdown earlier in the game. So, he had over 200 yards last week. He is conceivably close to that. Might have another 200-yard game tonight. And
on that last play, the Seahawks, one of their better efforts against him, bringing him down after a gain of about 1. MacArthur working quicker than you usually see him. Kelleher getting some revenge, trucking tacklers. Oh, my God, he's mean, bullying his way to the 35.
Again, folks, tell me another running back that has this kind of running style around Nassau County or even Long Island. You have not seen somebody like this in a long, long time. I mean, you said it great. He is mean. He doesn't want to go down. You know what he reminds me of? Mark Bavaro of the New York Giants back in the day as a Giants fan. That's the kind of player. He's almost like a tight end wrapped up in a running back's body. I could see him playing tight end at the next level.
I was going to say a little Adrian Peterson-esque relative to his high school competition, but maybe a little bit too lofty, but you know what? Kelleher is earning it tonight. So a timeout again for MacArthur. We'll take a break with him. 36 seconds left in the half when we come back on the Varsity Media Sports Network. First and 10 at the 36 for the Fighting U Kellehers. Give to the big man again, and he'll get another big gain, shaking off defenders, dragging a kid. Oh, U Kelleher. That was cruel.
It's the U Kelleher show, and we're all witnesses, folks, tonight. You know, we talked about how lucky and fortunate we were going to be to witness this, and he is not disappointing, Gavin. The runs are physical, they're powerful, with purpose, and MacArthur set up now for another touchdown.
That looked like a dad whose son didn't want him to leave for work, going to the end zone. He was just, can you stop? And he's like, nah, I gotta go.
That's true. Hugging those legs, but it doesn't help.
And we've noted it, but it's the same exact play every time. It's can you stop it? Kelleher, a jump, and he's just trying to earn some style points at this time. How many different ways can you score if you're U Kelleher, that time going airborne and putting it in for another touchdown?
Well, I think really what it comes down to is I think he wanted to show out for the live stream today, Gavin. I think he knew that Varsity Media was paying a visit to MacArthur, and he said, I better even step up my game to another degree, and I'm going to show this to you through the air. A little Saquon Barkley action, if you will. And 34-6, wow, very impressive tonight.
And I just want to know, we don't mean to pick on this Carey side as they get a nice block on the extra point, finally slowing down the unstoppable train that is Brian Carroll. They're a really young group, and they just started to figure this out last week against Manhasset. And I mean, again, to their defense, this isn't unique. No one has stopped U Kelleher this season.
No, I mean, look at these scores here. MacArthur against Calhoun, 35-3. East Meadow, 19-0. Valley Stream Central, 28-7. Last weekend against Mepham, 42-0. So you're right. This has been cruise control for MacArthur, and we'll talk about this in the second half. But really, the argument here is the only team standing in their way is going to be Garden City in a couple of weeks, which we'll talk about that as the game progresses. But it's not a knock on Carey. You know, Carey is listen, they beat them last year in the semifinals. Carey got to the championship game in Nassau County Conference 2 last year. Mike Stanley does an outstanding job every single year. You had mentioned that they haven't been under 500 in how many years?
Yeah.
So it's more about MacArthur and what they're doing and about Hugh Kelleher than it is anything else.
No, 13 straight seasons for Mike Stanley and these Carey Seahawks in the conference semifinals. I expect them to find a way to get back there again. Clearly this offense has a whole lot of potential between D. Nicola finally breaking out last week. Jason Kessler, when he's in rhythm, is really, really good. Obviously has an excellent connection with these wide receivers. Defensively, it's just about them continuing to build experience and depth on that defensive line, and you got to assume that's something Mike Stanley is going to continue to experiment with right now, playing the offensive line and defensive lines entirely independent of each other. They love having that depth. Maybe they get to a point where they say, hey, let's just put our four guys out on the field, four best guys out on the field every single time. Going to be interesting to see how this Carey team evolves throughout the season as you see Frank Scarantino working on the return there.
Well, one of the things, if you're Mike Stanley, you tell the team after this game is, hey, we may be 2-3, but two of our losses are to Garden City and also to MacArthur. Those are the best teams in Conference 2. So we've kind of played them, we've got past them, and now you try to stack up some wins moving forward the rest of the season. Should
be relatively smooth rolling for Carey from this point forward, and it seems like they're going to call the half on that. So a dominant first half effort for MacArthur. They lead it 34-6. It's been the U Kelleher show. He's been absolutely dominant, approaching 200 yards. And we'll take a break on the Varsity Media Sports Network. Give Carey a chance to regroup and come back in about 15 minutes.
Set me free and give me death, there ain't no other choices. When I lay down to go to sleep, I keep on hearing voices. Little whispers in my head, man, is you fake a lawyer? Why no water, that the sign of baby, pick your poison. These little demons living underneath my bed, creeping. Know the real monster lives above them all, sleeping. That subtle breathing in your closet every single evening. Thought you never see me again, looks can be deceiving. When they hear the sound of the drum, they'll be saying, oh Lord, here they come. Yeah, here we come. Here we come. Here we come. Here we come. And when you hear the sound of the drum, we'll be saying, here we come. Yeah, here we come. Hey, here we come. Here we come. Here we come. Yeah, here we come. Hey, here we come. Hey, here we come. Here we come.
Up and away, I give up out your wave, drowning my soul in the basement. Look, I ain't got much in the bank, I got a lot I can say. Got up with goddesses, hey, I hope you forgive my mistakes. Yeah, run around with a renegade, you should take a seat, save your energy. I try to heal the guys with a band-aid, in a time of need you call your enemies. I landed in a visa and I need a visa. I ain't playing with you, this no mama me. I need a hottie toddy with a body, yeah. I just spit the knowledge, then I'm out of here. That's what they are when we come around. Yeah. This is your time when we want it now. How big is your army? $100. If you want the rain, then we coming down. I stumble the cool, I'm awesome. Kick flipping the Carsons, we should run for the pool. I got the 5 flow, the department exhausted. I own nothing in you. I'm in the Tahoe, man, you making me nauseous. Pulling up with the crew, you such a hype beast, man, you making me vomit. Look, watch me, watch me, watch me do this. It's always been more than the music. You riding waves on the back of my cruise ship. Look, watch me, watch me, watch me do this. Since 2012 I've been
around the edge, breaking around the corner, and going for the score.
Under center, this time drops back to pass. Take a shot downfield for Reynolds. Double team, makes a diving catch.
Interested in sponsoring a live stream broadcast? Varsity Media streams offer tremendous visibility for your business. Contact us today at 866-577-1950 for rates and packages. Interested in sponsoring a live stream broadcast? Varsity Media Streams offer tremendous visibility for your business. Contact us today at 866-577-1950 for rates and packages. Interested in sponsoring a live stream broadcast? Varsity Media Streams offer tremendous visibility for your business. Contact us today at 866-577-1950 for rates and packages. Interested in sponsoring a live stream broadcast? Varsity Media Streams offer tremendous visibility for your business. Contact us today at 866-577-1950 for rates and packages.
we are back at MacArthur High School, just about ready for the second half. Our score, the Generals with a commanding 34-6 lead over the visiting Carey Seahawks. We wanted to tell you about a couple of big games that we have coming up in the next couple of weekends. Next Friday night, we've got not one, but two games coming your way here on the Varsity Media Sports Network. And again, a reminder that all of our live streams are free on YouTube. Go to youtube.com/varsitymedia. That's the site you're on right now if you are watching this game. And we, of course, ask you and invite you to subscribe to our channel. You can even hit the little bell in the top right corner of your screen to be reminded of every single time we go live. And the nice, neat thing that worked out here for tonight and moving forward is we are moving around Nassau County and hitting all the conferences. So tonight, obviously Conference 2, MacArthur and Carey. Next Friday night, October 18th, we have not one but two games for you. In Conference 4, homecoming at Carl Place High School, a 6:30 start. They'll be taking on the West Hempstead Rams in Carl Place, and that's a Conference 4 showdown. Also on Friday night, in Conference 1, maybe the biggest game of the year in Conference 1, Farmingdale hosting Freeport, also at 6:30. That's a huge game in Conference 1. And the following weekend, on October 25th, another Friday night game, a 6:30 start. Southside, who just had a huge win tonight. This is a big update, folks. A 27-24 win over Wantagh at home. There was a fumble at the end of that game to secure the win for Southside. They remain undefeated. Plain Edge on their way to a 42-0 win tonight over Roosevelt. Both of those teams currently undefeated in Conference 3. That is going to be an epic showdown, and we will have that game for you live at Plain Edge High School on October 25th at 6:30. So, Gavin, some exciting games. We're always excited to bring it to the fans of Nassau County football coming up here on the Varsity Media Sports Network.
Yeah, and it's thrilling and something to look forward to for fans watching tonight because this one has not been very close. MacArthur, 34-6. They're going to get the ball coming out of half, just utterly dominant with their run game in the first. And we'll get a chance to test the limits of the sportsmanship rules employed this year on Long Island. What it is when they get to 42 points, they got to slow things down a little bit, Ben?
Yeah, something like that. Your starters aren't supposed to be in the game, but if the game becomes a little closer, then you can continue to play. I just want to give one other score update that we got in here tonight. Of course, other teams are playing around Nassau County, and we were there last week at Cold Spring Harbor. Gavin, I don't think the score is going to surprise you. Cold Spring Harbor, homecoming there tonight, another home game. Valley Stream South coming in, and currently 39-0 Cold Spring Harbor. And after what we saw them do to Seaford last Saturday night, this is a team in the Seahawks, the Cold Spring Harbor Seahawks in Conference 4, that I don't know that they're going to get tripped up on the way to the Long Island Championship again.
Yeah, no, that connection between Richie Striano and Casey Reynolds, as dynamic as it gets on that level of high school football. And an early look at the MacArthur offense coming up in just a second. They'll start right around the 22 after the return from James Catcher. And it'll be interesting to see if we get a disproportionate amount of Ryan Isom in this second half with this one all wrapped up. And as we noted time and time again, not necessarily a significant drop-off going from Kelleher to Isom. And it's going to be so fascinating next season. I mean, as we noted, the offensive line probably won't be quite as good. But if Isom gets a little bit more hype and recognition, and just how good can he be as the lead back in this offense?
You know what? And I agree with you on all that. I think that we will see that next year. Although we have plenty of football to play this season in 2019. One thing to note with Carey. They held Manhasset scoreless in the second half last week. Now, MacArthur a little bit better of a team than Manhasset, but we'll see if Carey makes some adjustments and comes out. Because, Gavin, even though MacArthur has the ball, if they stop MacArthur, can put up a couple of scores here in the third quarter, crazier things have happened, and Mike Stanley's able to make adjustments at halftime. So I'm curious to see how Carey comes out here in the second half.
Remember, this was nearly a much closer game. Carey was driving down the field. We were both in agreement that they probably should have had a first down. Instead, inexplicably, the forward progress was stopped on that catch by, I believe, James Stein. and they had to go for it on 4th and inches, didn't get it. MacArthur comes right back down, and instead of having maybe a 28-13 game, it's 34-6, and just a completely different outlook. We'd see this Carey defense coming out really fired up if this game was a little bit closer as things stand. They're sort of playing for pride at this point, though obviously motivated to get an initial stop here on 3rd down, and Isom says, no, that's not going to happen.
Let's take another look at the Prospect New York State watch list while we have an opportunity here. Brought to you by Prospect New York State. They do a great job promoting athletes that are looking to possibly play at the next level at college football. We have some great players here today, and we're just going to punch that up for you and show you the MacArthur side and also the Carey side. How much have we talked about Hugh Kelleher today? He's a 6'2", 210-pound running back, linebacker, do-it-all. You see Ryan Isom. We've called Sean Tierney's name on the offense and defensive lines for MacArthur. And then for Carey, Dina Cola, Kessler, and Tadero. That's the watch list brought to you by Prospect New York State. Stay tuned for their showcase coming up in 2020 in the springtime. Gavin, it's the best players around New York State.
Kelleher, a hop, skip, and a jump, and he's still going, putting on the accelerators before he's eventually dragged down from behind. It took a desperation effort to get him. Ray Bedian chasing him down. If not, Kelleher would have had another tutty.
And we say another look at that. Talking about showcases, Kelleher was in the showcase this past May right here at MacArthur High School. It was the Nassau County Showcase. We had an opportunity to interview Kelleher, and what a great kid he is. Obviously, from the academic side, he has the grades as he's accepted verbal commitment to Cornell, Ivy League. So very impressive academically, and then athletically. What else can we talk about with Hugh? 3-sport athlete. He plays basketball, football, lacrosse. He does it all, Gavin.
Yeah, just a beast. I was hearing during halftime his dad was in the NYPD. Really well-rounded, I would say, for Hugh Kelleher. And he goes left again, and we talk about the left side of that offensive line as he gets stalled up that time. But it goes 255 pounds for Sean Tierney, 255 pounds for Matt Kakas, and then Greg Malau at center, 285. You just, particularly on Long Island, you don't see too many offensive lines built that way at the high school level. You could go over Hofstra's roster, and I would guess they're not too much bigger than that. It's just ridiculous, and it's such a tall task. When you combine that with the talent of Kelleher, you can understand why they can run the same counter look over and over and over again, and teams just can't seem to find a way to stop it.
Well, we'll talk about this probably in the fourth quarter, but they're going to really get a measuring stick when they go and travel to Garden City. They're going to know what kind of football team they are, because Garden City has the players to do that, to go up against them. But I like MacArthur's chances in that game, and of course we'll talk about that coming up in a little bit.
And this time they give Isom a try. He'll gain about 4 right side, setting up a 3rd and about 5 or 6. There's maybe only been one other time in this game where MacArthur has had that far to go on 3rd down, so certainly a bit of a victory for the Carey defense there.
And MacArthur's going to go for it on 4th down. I mean, they're not going to come out and kick a field goal, so they're going to go for it on 4th down. So Carey's going to have to stop them 2 times here on this series. And, boy, what a momentum boost that would be for the Seahawks if they're able to get that done. Don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but let's see what happens here on this 3rd and long.
I just want to throw this out there quickly, but what a testament this game is to the Carey's defense. Last year, they held the same MacArthur offense, essentially all the same players. It was mostly juniors, to only 7 points when they met in the playoffs last postseason. Just must have been a ridiculous effort from their defensive line, as you see how difficult it is to replicate with Isom bullying his way into 1st down territory and more inside the 15.
Simple cutback by Isom on that run, folks. That's all it is. Going right side, then he's able to stop on the dime. We'll take another look at it here. He is just so shifty, Gavin, as a running back. You'll see here, thinking about right side, and whoop, I'm going to go to the left side now. And it's so hard for Carey to defend that.
And how about that patience? He paused for a second, let his blocks get set up in front of him, then he makes that single cut, and it's all over for a defense.
That's correct. It's been hard for Carey defensively with this kind of running attack for MacArthur in the first half, and continues on here in the second half. This is how explosive they are, and we have to say it again. They have not passed the football once in this game.
That looks to continue. They give to Kelleher, and he's going to get in. No one really there to contest him at the last second. Throwing off a defender, Nick Bell with some disdain, and it's just too easy for you, Kelleher, on the night.
Off that left side, like you had talked about all evening long, and why not? That's the side that's really been working so effectively here. But just, we've said everything we could possibly say about this rushing attack. There are the holes. Fullbacks are blocking. You've even got upbacks blocking, and it's just too easy there for MacArthur. It could be Hugh Kelleher, it could be Isom, it could be anybody carrying the football for the Generals to get in the end zone here and extending the lead 40-6.
I just want to note quickly the mobility on their offensive line. We talked about the size 250, 280, but those guys' ability to quickly work their way down the field and really set you Kelleher up for some big gains. As that one was short for Carroll. He made his first four, missed his last two. We mentioned it last time, but that leg might be a little tired.
Yeah.
He's not used to kicking quite this much. Anyways, we'll take a break on the Varsity Media Sports Network. It's 40-6, MacArthur in total control. So another opportunity to see the Carey offense. And Ben, it's not indicative or indicated by the score, but they were largely effective throughout the first half between the 20s. It's when they got into the red zone or close to it where this MacArthur defense just absolutely shut them down time after time.
Yeah, turnover on downs there at the end of the first half and a couple of interceptions has been the biggest difference in the score tonight between Carey and MacArthur. I'm curious to see if Coach Stanley will put his starters on the field to start the second half offensively for them with the score 40-6. There is some sort of sportsmanship like you would. Oh my God, MacArthur got the ball on the kickoff.
What an attempt and a little bit of lackadaisical effort sleepwalking through that kickoff was Carey. They were just walking their way up to the ball, and MacArthur said, you know what, we'll go take that. Ben, break down this replay for me. What happened here?
Yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying. The ball bounces forward, so an unfortunate bounce there, but give credit to Joe Apuzzo, 32, who comes away with the football. As I'm talking about what Carey's going to do on offense, now they have to go back on defense. And, we were talking in the break, I didn't expect to see Hugh Kelleher back in this game up 40-6. But, Gavin, he's in, and so is Isom at 40-6. I'm a little surprised.
It might be a little bit – it's funny. We talked to Bobby Fehrenbach about it this week, and I know I asked him, I said, is revenge on your mind at all? Is that something you're emphasizing? Obviously just a heartbreaking playoff loss last season, 13-7, could not get the offense going in the second half. And he said, I don't mention it. I can't make any promises for the kids. I'm sure they talk about it. I don't know. I don't hear it. It's not really something I do. And he's such a low-key guy. I tend to believe him. But clearly there is some competitive intent for this MacArthur team, and I could bet Hugh Kelleher is saying, no, I don't want to go out. I want to beat them as badly as I possibly can.
Well, now it looks like there are going to be some starters coming in. There you see three new
here we go.
coming in, and that's the right move by Bobby Fehrenbach and this MacArthur team. So they take out the starters. And by the way, what an unbelievable game that they've all had today. We don't have the official stats up here, but we expect easily Kelleher's over 200 yards rushing tonight.
Yeah, and he didn't want to come out. He was sort of shrugging his shoulders, and he wanted one more drive in there, but it'll be a good opportunity to see James Catcher and what the future of this MacArthur backfield will look like.
And we're going to have a timeout by Carey here. I'm not sure what that's all about, if they're going to mix around their defensive players as well.
So we'll take a break with them on the Varsity Media Sports Network. MacArthur ball once again when we come back. So 3 new running backs out there for MacArthur. It's Derek Arnold, number 23, number 31, James Catcher, and then maybe Mike Esposito will get the ball a little bit more. He's the fullback, but nominally the third running back as well, so he could get involved now that Isom and Kessler were both out of the game.
Yeah, just an unbelievable job by both of the running backs today for MacArthur, Isom, and Kelleher. I would venture to guess over 300 yards combined, maybe even more than that. And the success continues.
Well, the starting offensive line is still in there. I didn't see Sean Tierney, who's all-state, a type performer in his own right, coming out of the game.
That just speaks to how dominant their offensive line is. And we've seen that throughout Nassau County. When you have big-time offense and defensive lines, that's just the case in football. You're going to be the more dominant team. And that is what has been on display tonight here, Gavin, has been this MacArthur line.
And now a new quarterback in for the Generals. It's Jack Butler, who's just a sophomore. Chance for him to get some reps. Handing off, and I was asking their coaching staff and just generally saying, so is it sort of a caretaker position? Obviously, we haven't said Joe Manfredo's name a whole lot throughout this game, and he was saying, there's such a leadership aspect to it and the ability to adjust and adapt at the line of scrimmage. Manfredo, something of a coach on the field, and it'll be a good experience for Butler, the sophomore, to get that type of responsibility. They're sort of the leader of the run game, even if they're not doing that much during the practical play.
Always good for younger guys to get experience. You never know when a guy gets nicked up or out of the game. It's your turn. You got the ball, and you got to take it and run, literally, and that's what's going on here.
Catcher, the third stringer, will cut forward for about 2 or 3. It'll be fascinating to see. You got to figure at some point this year, probably against Garden City, there's going to be a situation where MacArthur has to throw the football. They were all saying they have all the faith in the world in Joe Manfredo to put it down the field if and when that time comes. But he's only thrown 13 passes all year. Not going to see a defense all season as talented as Garden City. You wonder if when push comes to shove, if they can actually do it.
Well, I think because they run so much, if they do elect to do it, it'll be a safe pass, maybe even off a play action or a rollout. And it will probably be in situations on third down. But this team, and you can see how good they are running the football, there's no reason to pass the ball if you're MacArthur. There just isn't. I mean, I don't think I can remember a team as dominant as this one running the football. And 100%. I mean, those are the numbers today. That's the split. 100% run, 0% pass. And to have numbers like that and be this effective is really, really impressive.
And what takes it up a level, when you see that at the college level, or even throughout the state of New York, watching the playoffs last season, it's usually a triple option, and there's a lot of diversity in how they run the ball. This is just it's simple brilliance for MacArthur. It's the same play every single time: right side, left side, outside of tackle, inside of tackle. And even for a football novice such as myself, Ben, I can tell what they're going to do, but no one can seem to stop it.
Right, and that speaks to the offensive line, the big boys up front, and the blocking that they've done. They do an unbelievable job. There's captains, there's leaders on this team on the offensive line. And at the same time, once you get through the first level, the starting running backs, Isom and Kelleher, are just, they're all world right now for Nassau County. They're just unbelievable. So, hey, it's all working. It's great for MacArthur. They're going to improve to 5-0. We can give you their upcoming schedule here in a second. But really, if you're a MacArthur fan, if you're a Conference 2 football fan, you've got October 26th circled on your calendar, because that's when they go and face Garden City. That's going to be the game of the year in Conference 2, no doubt about it.
Derek Arnold on the carry that time as he works the clock under 5 minutes in the third quarter. MacArthur facing fourth down. Going to send out Jack Butler, quarterback, from the sideline. It's worth noting, I would say the advantage of the simplicity in which they run their offense, and I think this is an area Bobby Fehrenbach would probably agree with, is how it makes it a little bit easier for the offensive line from a mental perspective. They all know each other's positions and gives them a whole lot of versatility. It's a great defensive play. The first stop of the game for Carey is in the books. A fourth down, drag down to end the drive and send the offense back out onto the field. The tackle that time from Nick Golden, a junior, knifing in to finish off that play.
Yeah, great penetration in pursuit of the football by the junior to make that tackle on a 4th down. So at this point, if you're Mike Stanley and company, you're looking for things that can build you up from a confidence perspective, and that surely is going to get it done. Let's take a look at the upcoming schedules for both of these teams. Take a look at MacArthur. We had mentioned them first. We'll pull that up here for you in a second here. So they have Manhasset next Friday night. I know Coach J.I. Aquinta is probably watching this live stream right now, trying to pick up any tidbits he can on MacArthur. Carey beat Manhasset last weekend, and they held them scoreless in the second half. And there you see Garden City at 2 o'clock on the 26th, and then they finished the season at Elmont. So Manhasset then the big one against Garden City. That's MacArthur's upcoming schedule.
Yeah, I was telling you at halftime, Ben, I don't live on Long Island. I might come out specifically just to watch that game.
That is going to be a monster game on the 26th. And we'll show you Carey's schedule if you have an opportunity right now, who they have coming up here in the next 3 weeks. You mentioned they played the big dogs now, Garden City and MacArthur. So they have a home game against Elmont. Then they travel to Long Beach. And East Meadow, who's newly in Conference 2, coming down from Conference 1, they finished the season there. So no reason not to think that Carey can't finish the season here with 3 wins. And we'll just have to see how they finish things out.
And worth noting, Carey waving the white flag a little bit. A new quarterback in there, Jared Bernanger, a senior, 5'10", 170, also plays some wide receiver and defensive back for the Seahawks, so he'll get his chance now. Jason Kessler does not get an opportunity in the second half.
I think if you're the Seahawks looking at that remaining schedule, I think your goal is to run the table and get to 5-3. Now, because they lost to MacArthur and because they lost to Garden City, they're not going to have the 1 or 2 seed, and then we'll have to see how power points stack up with a 5-3 record. Are they going to be a 3 or 4 seed? Are they going to get a home game in the first round? And then it's all about, do they wind up facing MacArthur again in the semifinals, just like last year at Hofstra? Or are they going to face Garden City? So that's what, if you're Carey, you're going to have to let this one go. You're going to have to move on. I'm sure Coach Stanley would agree and say the same thing. And it's about what's left on the schedule for the Seahawks. But they have playoff aspirations, as they do every single year, Gavin. And not only that, I think they want to get out of the first round with a home game, and they want to get to the semifinals. They want to get back to Hofstra.
And again, this would be, if they don't advance out of the first round, it'll be the first time that has happened since 2006. So a long streak to keep intact for Carey. And I just wonder from their perspective who they'd rather face in that second round. That would be a fascinating question to ask Mike Stanley post-game. Right. I'm sure he wouldn't give you an answer. Right. Maybe he'd tell you after the season. But it'll be – I would love to hear his take on what that MacArthur-Garden City matchup is going to look like as that pass sails high out of the hands of the senior Berenger.
Well, I think I know what Stanley would say. He would say, it doesn't matter, both of these teams are amazing.
Yeah.
That's what he would say. Pick your poison. I mean, Garden City, they haven't lost in forever, and look at the season that MacArthur is putting together. I think more what I'm interested in is to see what happens in that game, and then most likely that's the matchup you're going to get in Conference B championship. Not to look too far ahead, but, man, Garden City, MacArthur on a rematch game in Hofstra under the lights. The weather's colder in November. You talked about for the October 26th game coming to Garden City. You might want to get another reservation in November if those two hook up in the championship game, because that is going to be really epic.
Yeah, I wonder from a coaching perspective how you approach that. Do you go all out to win that first game, or knowing that those two teams are just so far ahead of everyone else in this conference, do you keep a little in your back pocket for that potential championship rematch?
Well, I think it's a special game on the 26th, or we anticipate it to be a special game on the 26th. And we're going to save that story for the fourth quarter for you folks. Oh, as it's dropped.
An excellent punt, had a lot of backspin on it, and unable to
Carey has it.
Yeah, Matt Poppich.
But they call him down because he was running into the end zone. And now we're going to get a flag with this crazy play there, Gavin, because our second I thought that he had run it in for a score, but not the case.
No, well, Carey clearly had it, but I turned away. I thought the play was over. It looked pretty obvious to me that he was down, but be interested to hear the explanation from the officials on that one.
He probably was down as the fumble was recovered and the MacArthur player was over him, so you can't just get up and run the ball that way. But for a second, he sold me up here in the press box that was a live ball. But in any event, here you go. So Carey, with a little bit of a break, comes with 3 minutes to go here in the third quarter, but they're going to get great field position, and we'll see if they can do anything offensively here.
Heck of a punt that time, too. And not only was it far and high, but it was a little bit of backspin on that ball that really allowed that muff.
We're going to get an unsportsmanlike conduct here. The question is it on Carey or MacArthur?
Yeah, because MacArthur, Carey kept going with it, and then Poppich tried to tackle the ball carrier. Can you really fault him for that if he thought the play was live?
So we got a personal foul, not unsportsmanlike, and they're going to call it on Carey.
Yeah. So Carey ball, push back 15 yards, a break for the Seahawks. Maybe comes 2 quarters too late to make a difference, but they'll certainly take it all the same. A chance again to get some experience for their backups, and we'll see them next on the Varsity Media Sports Network. Fourth quarter about to get underway here at the Varsity Media Sports Network. We get the sense that there's some kind of running clock going on from the officials. Because, clearly we had the game clock up here. It wasn't to that point quite yet, but they want to get this one over with, and we will take it here in the Varsity Media Game of the Week.
Yeah, I just to echo what you're saying there, we're showing you the time on the scoreboard, but the officials on the field keep the real official time, and that's why you see the end of the third quarter there.
Delayed give that time to Michael Prevetti, a 5'6", 140-pound senior, and he didn't have much of a chance there.
Right now, it's about who do you have. If you're Coach Stanley, some younger players, some guys that don't get an opportunity to play that much, here's a chance to show your coach what you're made of. Maybe somebody breaks one, and Coach Stanley says, we could be using this kid the rest of the season. So, when you get an opportunity like this here with an entire quarter to go, you got to make the most of it. And if you're Carey and you're this offense, is an opportunity here to do just that.
And we had a similar situation with Cold Spring Harbor, Seaford last week. The issue with that game was it was Conference 4, and the schools just simply weren't big enough to field a football roster full of backups, so the starters had to essentially stay in the game until the end. Fortunately, a little bit more expansive here in Conference 2 as that ball hit the turf and looked like it bounced right back into the running back's hands. It is an opportunity for some younger guys to get some run. And frankly, one of the bigger games they probably ever played in, even though it is such a blowout. So that'll bring up third and about 10. Maybe we'll get an opportunity to see the arm of the youngster, or the backup anyways, in Jared Berenger. He's only attempted one pass so far. A little bit high. So Berenger back to throw. Berenger under pressure, and he'll go down. Our first sack of the day. Feels weird that we haven't had one. It's picked up by the charging Gino Fundero, the backup tight end for the Generals.
Well, Carey gets the ball out so quickly on their short throws, and MacArthur never runs. Never passes, so hard to get a sack in this game as you see the pressure coming around the end there. And look at that tackle. Shoestring, that's a textbook tackle, folks. We talked about this is an opportunity for some players to showcase their skills. That you put on tape right there, the coaches are looking at that saying, let's get this kid in the game.
175 pounds of pure hustle is Gino Fundero.
And only a junior, Gavin. You talked about the lines, how a lot of them are graduating from MacArthur. Well, we might be calling number 80 next year.
He'll certainly be in the mix, and he's going to have to get his weight up, though, to match the 250, 250, 280 across the board. I was asking Coach Fehrenbach about that over the course of the week, and I was saying, look, what are you feeding these kids? Because at least in the games we've done, and this punt not nearly as good as the last one. It's going to maybe go 6 yards in the aggregate for Nick Bell, but it was sort of disarming when I heard those numbers. I was like, are you just running like college kids out there? What is happening? And he said, I just got lucky. It was a group of bigger kids that all happened to be in the same grade. These juniors have been exceptional their whole career, Ben. Last year's team was predominantly juniors. Normally, Coach Fehrenbach has over 20 seniors on the team. Last year was only at 14, and he said this was a big group of kids. It was a talented group of kids. Look, we lift weights 50 times a year like everyone else. This group is just exceptional, and we're seeing it for MacArthur, and it just seems like the peak of a long era of success for Coach Fehrenbacher at this school.
Of course, we want to thank Bobby for giving us all the information on his team. He does a great job, and Gavin, I know he has a great website, that historic website that he keeps for the Generals going back. How many years? 20 years going back, and you can get stats. What's the URL there?
It is. I'll pull it up in a sec. But actually, I should say that he's been the coach for 20 years. The website has numbers back to the 1960s and a whole era, all-time records against every school they've ever played, full roster with heights, weights, positions. It's really excellent. It's MacArthurGeneralsFootball.com.
Yeah, he does a great job, and we want to thank him and also Coach Mike Stanley for giving us some time, and of course Keith Snyder, the athletic director here at MacArthur. We talked about in the first half. This is just a great environment, great atmosphere. The fans, the parents, the kids, everybody great here in Conference 2. We had an opportunity this week to cover a Conference 2 game, and when we saw the schedule come out, we said, hey, this is going to be a good one. Two good teams, kind of a rivalry brewing, and like you mentioned, this time around, Gavin, MacArthur just, they're just a little too tough right now. And I think that for all intents and purposes in this conference, take another look at that run, it's about Garden City. We mentioned we talk about it here in the fourth quarter. They're going to have an opportunity in 2 weeks to play Garden City, and right now, if you're not familiar around Nassau County or around Long Island, William Floyd has the consecutive game winning streak at 42. Garden City right now is sitting at 40. 40 consecutive wins currently. Do you know how hard that is? 3 Long Island championships in a row, and they haven't lost in 40 games. Now, here's the best part in how it relates to MacArthur. If you're a MacArthur fan right now, Garden City is going to play next week. We expect them to win. They're going to play this weekend. We expect them to win. They're going to play next week. We expect them to win. They will have a tie, right? 42. They'll be tied with William Floyd. And then MacArthur comes in. So they have an opportunity, Gavin. MacArthur does, because this is the team that, hey, if it's not going to be this team, what other team is it going to be? I mean, with the talent we saw in the first half. But think about that. They have an opportunity to go to Garden City and potentially win that game and stop them from the history of consecutive game win streaks on Long Island.
It's incredible. You couldn't write it any better. That this is the team, and especially we keep mentioning it, but this is arguably the best competition Garden City has had over those 3 years. There hasn't been a team, at least with the physical makeup of this Generals group over the course of that run, that Garden City could go on the field with, and at least in terms of line play, actually be physically outmatched. Now, I don't know that much about Garden City's personnel. Maybe they're walking around with a couple of 260-pound tanks as well, but this is, again, pretty unique for a Conference 2 school. And it'll certainly make for a fascinating matchup with all the talent and speed Garden City boasts year after year after year.
And on the other side, if you're Garden City and you win that game, you have the record. So from both sides, the reason that it's important on the MacArthur side is because, first of all, they're undefeated. Second of all, the talent on this team has the potential to win a Long Island championship. I mean, this is the first time you and I are seeing MacArthur in person, and just knowing the talent around Long Island, there's no way in the world someone could watch this team and say they're not a championship caliber team. They are. Now they have to go through Garden City, and that's what we're talking about here. That's what makes it so historic, that even if they don't win that game on the 26th, they're going to face Garden City, you would think. It's almost expected in Nassau at Hofstra, home and neutral site, as opposed to playing at Garden City. And obviously we're getting way ahead of ourselves as you see another big run here by the Generals. We're getting way ahead of ourselves, but why not? It's the fourth quarter. Why not have this conversation, Gavin? The point is, could happen, right? It could happen, and then the MacArthur Generals are playing in LAC in 2019, and how awesome would that be if you're a Generals fan?
And we get a look at that replay. James Cantor looking a heck of a lot like Ryan Isom there, but with that shifty, cutting, writing style. I was going to say it before, Finn Duffy, the sophomore who was in the game, just dragging Seahawks across the field. It was a little bit of animal abuse by him, and he almost looked like Kelleher earlier in this one, and you just get the feeling, wow, MacArthur just churns these guys out. They have 2 more in the same mold when those 2 graduate. So another run, this time for catcher. Oh, how did he get out of that? A magic trick. He went into a hole and popped out unscathed all the way down to the 1, as MacArthur is going to look to add to this league as that clock is speeding down. We have it at 5:20, but don't know if the refs are putting it at an even more accelerated pace. Game time right now looking like it's going to come in just under 2.5 hours, so relatively quick one, even with all the explosive offense from MacArthur slowing things down from time to time. And, yeah, they certainly have a lot to look forward to. Obviously can't overlook any of their upcoming competition and conference too. All these schools big and pretty talented, but I think it helps how easygoing, or maybe easygoing is the wrong term, but how level-headed Bobby Fehrenbach is. Doesn't get too high, doesn't get too loaded, want them to get too charged up for this game. A touchdown right there. He probably barely flinched on it. And he just seems to keep this team at somewhat of an emotional neutral, though they're pretty excited right now. And I think that'll pay dividends as they try to stay level-headed heading into that Garden City game.
Yeah, there's the run that we're watching right now before the touchdown. Steve Tamburello was the player. We could probably show that here for you right before the extra point here. But let's take a look at the touchdown by Steve Tamburello. I think it's his first carry of the game, if I'm not mistaken, number 4. So how about that? 1 carry, and he's in for the score late in the game.
And it's always nice when a senior who doesn't typically get used at running back gets a chance for such a special moment. And you could see, I mean, that gives you an idea of the DNA of this MacArthur team. Everyone just so fired up for him.
And that's why I think that the thought process around Nassau County and Conference 2 is that Garden City may finally, you had mentioned it, have their toughest test in 3 years. Wantagh and Garden City went back and forth for so many years, but Wantagh dropped down into Conference 3 a couple of years ago. As a matter of fact, Gavin, Wantagh is the last team to have beaten Garden City, I think back in 2015, and it was a close game then in the playoffs. So since they've dropped down, the question is, has there been a team to really contend with Garden City? It's evident as we're watching this game that MacArthur is going to be that team this year.
Up 47-6 right now. We'll take a break on the Varsity Media Sports Network. Come back for the final 4:39.
We are back, 47-6 our score. Just about 4 and change left to go. Here's our upcoming schedule on the Varsity Media Sports Network. You can find our games right here on the website you're watching, youtube.com/varsitymedia. Next Friday night, we have 2 games for you, a Conference 4 showdown at Carl Place. It'll be homecoming there for the Frogs against West Hempstead. And then Farmingdale hosting Freeport on the 18th as well at 6:30. And then in 2 weeks, Gavin, we're at Plain Edge. Plain Edge beat Roosevelt today 42-0 at home. They are rolling. They are by far the best team in Conference 3. And Southside also with a big win today over Wantagh. And those 2 teams should still be undefeated in 2 weeks. And that'll be a nice game for Varsity Media to bring you over at Plain Edge. Their facilities, by the way, are unbelievable. Maybe the best in Nassau County. We're really excited to show that to you, see what everybody's up to in Plain Edge. So that's the upcoming schedule for Varsity Media. We're pretty excited about it.
Yeah, it should be great. You just can't have me involved in any of the games, Ben, because we've seen how they turn out. For whatever reason, it's a blowout one way or another when I show up. So maybe they might ban me from the MacArthur Garden City game because they want that one to be close.
You're right. Yeah,
Interesting. Yeah,
it's true. I don't know what you must have the magic touch for one of the teams, anyways.
For sure. Yeah, I don't know which one going in. It's a complete surprise to everyone. Anyways, 47-6 is our score here. MacArthur just totally dominant. It felt like there were stretches, there were moments in the first half where Carey could have made it competitive, but a couple of early interceptions from Jason Kessler doomed their early drives, and another sloppy play there. Nearly a third turnover, lucky to come up with it. That time is Carey.
Looks like it's picked up by Carey.
And we just took a look at the upcoming schedule for MacArthur. Carey, we said, still very much in the race to be a semifinalist for the 14th straight year. Just have to get an advantageous draw in the playoffs. They go Elmont, Long Beach, East Meadow. As you see a look up on the screen, they just took on Manhasset and Garden City. But it should be an interesting slate for them. And here's a run going left side. An opportunity for Michael Pervetti. Again, 5'6", 140-pound senior. And that's sort of the beauty of the blowouts. Even for the team that's losing, everyone gets an opportunity to play. You get your moment to shine. And you better expect, obviously they care about the score, but these guys are fired up just to get in, Ben, and to have an opportunity to play on this type of stage for this type of crowd, particularly the seniors who haven't gotten it throughout their career, and you can assume work just as hard in practice as everyone else on the team. It's just sort of a golden moment for them, even in a blowout. Delayed handoff works nicely for a second, but MacArthur showing off their depth defensively. Finn Duffy, who had that explosive carry on offense, brings a lot of power and some punch on the defensive end as well.
Nice to see that both sides are still playing. You know, you could kind of let down a little bit towards the end of the game here, and even though the clock shows 2:33, we don't really know what the officials are keeping on the field, but you know, it's nice to see tackles like that made by Duffy and strong runs by Carey. So always good to see high school kids competing here towards the end of the game.
And for Carey, in terms of turning around their season, obviously it's sort of contingent on how good the defense they're playing is week to week. But we've talked about the games they've struggled. It's been because they've gotten down early on down and distance. And Ben, I'd be interested to hear your opinion, but it seems like it's just on Jason Kessler to be a little bit more consistent, because that offensive line isn't quite well molded enough that on the best teams they play, they're going to be able to run the ball with great consistency.
Yeah, and you know what? Even if you take those interceptions away, I just think this MacArthur team is too good. I don't know that Carey would have had the firepower today to stay with them for 4 quarters. Yeah. And also, when you look at Carey, you got to look at their whole schedule, and you got to say, we played Garden City, we played MacArthur. And they're going to fall to 2 and 3, but 2 of their losses are against the top 2 teams in Conference 2. So now Carey's going to get a chance to take a breath, look at the rest of their schedule. We brought it up before. We could bring up Carey's schedule again and show it to you. And I think they have 3 winnable games. So we talked about this. If they can get to 5 and 3, depending on the power points, if they could beat Elmont at home next week, if they could go to Long Beach, and that's going to be a tough game, and take care of Long Beach as the game now officially ends, and another tough game, but winnable at home on the second. If they can get to 5 and 3, they're going to feel very good about themselves heading into the postseason.
I'm telling you, number 21 for MacArthur, Finn Duffy, just a sophomore. He's going to be a player for them. He's sort of the next man up. He really packs a punch. So the final score of this one, MacArthur 47, Carey to 6. Ben, any closing thoughts on what was ultimately just a dominant effort for the Generals?
Well, what I think is this game's about MacArthur, folks. You saw MacArthur, you saw Hugh Kelleher, you saw Isom today. Unbelievable running backs, a great offensive line, and I think the storyline in Conference 2 is 2 weeks from now. Can MacArthur knock off Garden City, or will Garden City have a historic win all-time in Long Island? That's what it's about. Not so much today, Carey. Valiant effort by the Seahawks, but a little bit overmatched today by a team that right now just might have a little bit more talent, senior leadership, some really good running backs, and I think that's the difference.
MacArthur said they didn't care about revenge after last season's semifinal loss to Carey. Well, they got it anyways, a 47-6 win. They move on to 5-0. Carey 2 and 3 for Ben Turchin, Chris Sweeney, and our entire varsity media crew. I'm Gavin Shaw, signing off